How can an investor make money on GameStop this week? How can an investor take advantage of momentum in this stock? That's what I'm going to cover in this video. Roaring Kitty has turned up again, and he showed that he's invested in GameStop significantly, and the stock went, sky high, but it really settled down. Is it a good time to buy the stock? Maybe. Is it a good time to short the stock? Maybe. I'd like to go through and analyze the company, and I'm going to come to a conclusion for myself to see if I want to buy the stock, not touch the stock, or maybe even short the stock. Now, everything that I do is just sharing my experience as an individual value investor. And I'm not recommending you buy GameStop, sell GameStop, short GameStop, buy any options. I'm not recommending any of that. Please be really careful with your investments. I just want to share my investing journey, and I hope you find it interesting. As we look at GameStop, it has certainly had a really volatile last 4 years. If you look at how high the stock price got, up to $80, and now it's settled down, it's trading today at around $27. And it really provides an opportunity. I've always said that volatility is an investor's friend. If there's volatility, chances are that stock's going to get really low and I can pick it up at a discount. Where volatility gets really high, chances are there's an opportunity to go short on a stock. So volatility is not bad. It's actually good for a smart investor. Now, who made money in the GameStop short squeeze? Well, for sure, Roaring Kitty made money. He bought options early on when it was, I think most people thought GameStop was going to go bankrupt, but he bought really low and then he sold relatively high. But if you watch the movie Dumb Money, it was fun to watch that movie. I really enjoyed it. But I encourage you to watch the documentaries that have been made on the short squeeze. And it pretty much follows the movie with one exception that's really important. Toward the end of the documentaries, they show investors that stayed too long in GameStop. And some of these investors were just average people. And at one point, they had a net worth in the millions based on the GameStop shares they owned. But they stayed long on the stock and they lost pretty much 99% of their investment, unfortunately. Nothing to laugh about, but it's just really unfortunate that average people could have really changed their life, bought a house, put that money away if they had sold at a better time. Now that we're having the second coming of potentially a short squeeze or hysteria around the stock, I hope that a lot of investors have learned the lesson that the first iteration taught us, which is you have to understand the company. Is the company going to be around in the future? Is it a good company to buy long term? Is this just a trading opportunity? Treat it in the right way. That way, your expectations are going to be met once the stock settles down. Overall, I'm going to look at the company just like I look at any other company, and I'll share those conclusions with you. Before I jump into that, let me share some new news on a partnership that I have with Moomoo. Over the coming weeks, you're going to see that I'm going to start sharing parts of my portfolio within Moomoo. It gives me an opportunity to share my portfolio online in a secured way for people to see. And I wanted to invite users, if you don't have an account or maybe are interested in Moomoo, to sign up and use a code that I'm providing in the description of the video. They have a great offer of paying you 8.1% on your cash, which is phenomenal. It lasts for 3 months, but then after that, it's at 5.1%. They also provide 15 free stocks if you deposit $1,000. And the stocks could be a value of $2 or $2,000 per share. That's a pretty strong offer. So if you're interested, please click on the link, take a look. And if it's the right thing for you, I'd appreciate if you signed up. Let me know if you have any questions. The volatility of GameStop is for the record books. In 2020, again, it was kind of left for dead. And my history with GameStop goes back 15, 20 years. I'm a proud father of 2 sons, 24 and 19. And as you can imagine, 15 years ago, we would be regulars at GameStop buying video games, cartridges, consoles, handhelds, you name it. I thought GameStop was a neat little retailer that really focused on gaming, and my sons really enjoyed it. So I was happy to spend money there. I would often spend, I don't know, $300-400 a month at GameStop. I'm kind of a geeky dad and thought that it was cool that my sons were really interested in video games. So, but since then, the video game industry has just really collapsed, and it's not a good business for GameStop because games have gone purely digital online. Whether you're looking at a Microsoft title or Sony, you can just download everything. You don't have to go to the store anymore. And second, applications and platforms like Roblox just completely eliminate GameStop out of that opportunity. So just a lot of things have changed in the industry that really go against GameStop. Now their stock really shot up and it was trading just parabolically. And I would say I've never seen a parabolic move that didn't end with broken hearts, meaning from the top it to the bottom, it has really gone down. It's never recovered the original stock price. We are looking at more recently, we've seen a really big rise because Roaring Kitty has made a comeback and the stock really jumped up, but it's really come down, right? He showed up about 3-4 weeks ago, and then the stock really collapsed. So you can see where investors that maybe saw this coming could have made some money on the way up, but if they stayed too long and it was very hard to time this thing, they really lost a lot of money on the way down. So that's really tough. Over the last 5 days, this stock's really moved. It's gone from about low 20s up to $73 and back down to $26, $27, excuse me. So this stock is super volatile. Buying these shares, it takes nerves of steel, and you need to act fast. You have to watch the stock ongoing. And let's take a look at their fundamentals. Stock, it's an $8 billion company, and their sales are about $5 billion. They have very little profit. Their PE ratio is 1,350. That's really high PE ratio. And analysts believe it's 74% discounted. It's priced too high. It's really worth $7, but it's being sold for $27. So this stock just doesn't have fundamentals that support a valuation that can get close to their stock price. One big concern, again, over the years, you're seeing a lot of red on the revenue growth. They were a retailer that once had, $8 billion of revenue. They're down to 5. Just year after year, it keeps getting smaller. When we look at the quarterly, their last quarter, they lost 20% of sales. If you compare that quarter to the same quarter the previous year, all that is bad news. Again, I have a sweet spot in my heart for GameStop. I think they help my sons really enjoy video gaming. I would love for them to make it, but the reality is not all businesses make it. If they have the wrong business model and they don't make money, it's just not a business that's supposed to exist. It might be nice to have a GameStop or two for history purposes, but it's kind of like Blockbuster. Blockbuster had locations everywhere. And then when videos went digital and everybody started streaming, Blockbuster pretty much, went away. I think there's one location in the state of Oregon, and it still operates. I think people really have the nostalgia and go there. Having one Blockbuster is kind of neat, but it really shows that they went from tens of thousands of locations to just one after the consumer moved to streaming versus going in store. I think the same thing's happening with GameStop, and I don't think it's going to stop. At some point, I don't think GameStop is going to exist. And for me, I think I'm going to be in GameStop very short term. I have to decide whether I want to buy and watch the stock go up or I want to short it and watch the stock go down. I don't believe in the company's long-term future. I like the company. It's not a matter of liking or disliking GameStop. It's just, does their business make sense for the future? Their fundamentals and their balance sheet look terrible. So all that pretty much says this company is probably not going to exist in the next 2 to 4 years, and likely will be sold off for its royalties and its branding. Its brand probably has value. So we'll see where the business ends up. But for the short term, I think I'm going to play a short position and I'm going to stay in it just for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, and see how that goes. I think the stock's really going to settle down, principally because I think that the first time this happened, I think a lot of people uh, took on the short sellers and felt like they were a part of something that really meant something. But a lot of people, if you watch those documentaries, lost a lot of money, and they went from a modest investment of $5,000, $10,000, and then it was worth a lot of money, like $500,000, $1 million, and then they went back to zero. And that has to really just be demoralizing. And I would hope that retail investors have learned that, hey, this is not going to end well, in my estimation. I'm not a fortune teller, but I think 99 out of 100 investors would say it's not going to end well for GameStop. The stock is going to be low at some point. This is not financial advice. I'm not recommending you buy, sell, trade, or short GameStop. I'm just sharing my opinion and my observation. So going forward, I'm going to short $1,000 and watch it very closely. I'm going to put a stop loss order on it so that if the stock really goes up parabolically, I could sell the stock and just get out of this position. It may be a big loser, but I'm expecting it's going to actually make me a pretty good return because I think the stock's going to go down fairly quickly. Once bitten, twice shy. The story's already been told for the first short squeeze, and I don't think investors are going to be foolish enough to buy into this stock thinking it's going to be worth something long term. So that's my review of GameStop. Again, I'm not trying to bash this company. I like the company. A lot of great memories for me at the store. I also have a lot of great memories renting out Blockbuster, but they're gone. And I think that GameStop is going to be a part of history, but not part of the future going forward. I hope you found my video interesting, and I really appreciate you watching.